Hello guys, my name is Lupo, welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk with you about reshade, especially about one specific reshade filter that I discovered, one specific shader to be exact, that really makes your Microsoft Flight Simulator look amazing from the base without interfering too much with your colors and everything. I mean, we can arguably say that Microsoft Flight Simulator is the best looking sim we ever had, probably. And it looks great out of the box. But one thing that bugs me the most, and even after tweaking a lot with ReShade, Atmos, and all this stuff, I was never really happy. And you have probably been down this rabbit hole too. And I discovered one little shader or one extensive shader that basically fixes everything what I don't like about the default look. And I'm gonna show you today how this works, how to set it up. It's completely free. What we are looking at right now is the Microsoft Flight Simulator 24, absolutely default. So with default, I mean no Rex Atmos, no reshade. This is just how the sim looks. And we are at noon. We have a clear sky, more or less. We have the sun directly shining onto a white airframe. And if you look at this, I mean, it's not really white. It's like a bit of grayish. The whites here, they should almost hurt our eyes because this is a completely white surface and the sun at noon completely shining directly on it. And it's still, if you look at it, it's just a bit grayish, yellowish, and not really white. This should really be bright white. And now I'm going to show you how we can fix this. First, I'm going to show you my Rex Atmos preset. If you don't have Rex Atmos, don't worry. We're going to talk about the shader a bit later, but I tried to fix it with Rex Atmos already. So if you have Rex Atmos, just go to the Atmos tab. Set the public search to on, search for Lupo. You find many presets. I've released quite a few of them. But I recommend taking my newest one. This is the Lupo FS24V1 with the day of today of recording this video. We're gonna apply this. And you see it's already better. It's already a bit more bright, a bit more white. Then we're gonna, in the Enviro tab, do the same. Also search for Lupo. Preset is called exactly the same, Lupo FS24V1. And here I changed some settings that make the image look a bit more bright. It's already better. It's already better. The problem is that the base, like the simulator itself, still is a bit grayish and a bit dull overall. And now we're going to talk about the ReShade preset. And before we talk about that, I want to mention a few important steps. I will link you my ReShade preset below, but do not just apply this and don't think about it. It will not work correctly. It's really important that you adjust it for your specific screen. I'm on SDR, I don't have an HDR screen, I don't have an OLED. So if you have something like that or just another brand of monitor, you really need to adjust it to your liking, to your screen. Otherwise, it might look completely off. So really follow this short tutorial. The shader that I will mention that makes the big difference for me is this one. I completely randomly stumbled above a video from a guy called Must Play Reviews, and he has this video, and this is called I Accidentally Made Games Look Better Using Physics and Math. And I was like, okay, sounds interesting. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to try this. This is just amazing. I really recommend to watch this video. I will link it down in the comments. And in his description, there is also a Discord channel you can join where he shares his ReShade shader. It's not a preset, it's just the shader that you have to download. And another important step I highly recommend, but we are not doing that today, try to calibrate your monitor. So if your monitor is set as neutral and correctly as possible, you will have the best experience. If your monitor is completely wrong setup, your colors are basically destroyed by the monitor before you see it. So I highly recommend Google it, the settings, the most neutral, perfect settings for your screen, for your monitor. And here's a step-by-step guide how to do it that you can download in his calibration patterns channel and calibration patterns for darks and whites. So I really recommend joining the Discord and look at this. But what we are gonna do is we go to download his shader that he developed. And if you don't want to join the Discord, you can just go to the GitHub page here. And it's called the MPR Universal Tone Map V5. Just click on download raw file. And after you have downloaded it, it should obviously be in your downloads folder. I have downloaded twice now, so I'm going to delete that one. Copy this one. This is a ReShade effect. You also obviously have to have ReShade installed. I'm not going to cover how to install ReShade. I assume you already have. If not, there are lots of tutorials about it out there. So please watch that. I'm not going to cover this. After you have copied this shader, you go to your Microsoft Flight Simulator installation folder. Mine is Steam, Steam apps, Common, Limitless. And if you have ReShade already installed, you have this folder in there called ReShade Shaders. Watch out, there's another folder called Shaders, but this is the game shaders, the one from Microsoft Flight Simulator itself. Do not touch this one. Really make sure you're going to the ReShade Shaders folder, and in the Shaders folder in there, and then you just copy paste the FX file. I have it here already. It's called the MPR Universal Tone Map. You just put it in there. You have to restart your sim, so it will not work otherwise, but restart your sim and open up ReShade. If you open up ReShade, you should see the shader in here. If you take my profile, you will already have it activated. For the sake of this tutorial, it's completely default. I have not activated it here. If you activate this, you can already see I have set it up already for my monitor, and you can already see the difference. I mean, the white, the yellowish, grayish white is suddenly becoming really bright, as it should be. It's close to the edge of being too much, but it isn't, because you can calibrate all the settings in here. It might look a bit intimidating, but it's really easy. It's basically step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. And you have to go through this first. So it takes a few minutes, but I'm gonna explain you every single step. And you can already see the shadows are darker, the whites are whites. It's just an amazing difference. All right, if you download my specific profile, I really highly recommend to go to the Universal shader. It's important, if you have the performance mode on, you have to disable this, otherwise you cannot adjust these settings. So disable performance mode, and then you have these settings here. Then the first step is just the default setup. Game input, leave this default. There is peak limits that you have to set up. Default is standard. It will clip as soon as the whites and the contrast reach 100%. So as soon as it's over 100%, you are doing too much and it will clip. And to highlight this, you really have to activate the debug mode. And if you have the debug mode enabled, as soon as you go too far, it will highlight the whites that are clipping. So make sure you have the debug mode on. Important here, if you have an OLED display, you might want to try the OLED safety buffer. What this does, it just cuts off already at 10% less than the standard value. So you might want to try that. I'm not on OLED, I'm not on HDR, so I use standard clip at 100. Debug on, and then the first step is enable input normalization. We will definitely activate this, because let's talk about what the shader does. the shader analyzes the image on your screen, so for the Microsoft Flight Simulator base image basically, and analyzes it, and then you have different input and output targets to really make it perfect without clipping, without being too much. And it's really important to set it up. The first step is enable input normalization. It just evens out the input from Microsoft Flight Simulator. Leave this on. After that, you have the target input nits. This is like the brightness sensitivity of your image. Default is 100, but if I leave it at 100 and look directly at the sun and very bright areas, then you see it's clipping here. I would highly recommend to use the brightest settings you can. So probably noon, disable live weather. You really want to adjust this in the most bright situation you can. Look at the sun, look at the bright clouds, and after that you go to adjust the input sensitivity kinda. And you just do this click by click. Do not just move the shader. You see, you go way too far very fast. So I really recommend start at 100 and just click one step after one step. For me, it stops clipping at 102. Make sure you look a bit around. You change the time of day and everything. But for my screen, on 102 is already enough that it's not clipping, and the brights are as bright as possible without being too much. Next step is the pipeline stage, relight. This is like an aperture setting of a camera. You see this is way too much, this is way too less, it looks dark. For me personally, I leave just at the default value. I don't need to touch this at all. The second one is micro contrast system 2A. And here it's really recommended to just use quad pivot stack. It doesn't matter what this is. It just, it preserves the highlights, so the brightest points on your screen. Just use this one. This is recommended by the one who did the shader. Then you have this slider here called target filmic density. If you hover over it, there it's explained. You have 4 recommended settings. 1.43 is natural, 1.5 is filmic, cinema standard, balanced. 7.3, the higher you go, the more contrast you have. 1.73 has already more contrast, and 1.77 is really contrasty. Personally, I like the default, which is 1.5. There's not much difference between the natural one, the 1.43. I can't see a difference on my screen, but the higher you go, you see it just crushes the shadows, and it's just way too much contrast. This isn't realistic. So I highly recommend to leave it at 1.43 or 1.5 for the filmic natural look. This slider highlight density is at default it's 0.5. You can adjust this if you want to have more contrast or just a faded out look, but personally I don't touch it. I just leave it at default, which is 0.5. We're gonna adjust the contrast and darks later on. The next step, number 3, is output mastering. Let's set this to default. Default value is 80. For SDR, this is the paper white, and for a HDR mode is the peak nits to match your display. Don't care too much what it does. You just have to check the same. You move the slider and you basically put it there where it is not clipping. The more left you are, the white is more paper white, and on the right side it's just getting even brighter and washed out. So either leave it at the default value. This is no clipping for my screen. If it's not clipping for you, it's okay. I even like to put it at the whitest, paper whitest point, but yeah, let's leave it at default. This works for me. Then we have another slider here that is called the black floor. This adjusts the blacks, so basically the shadow and the dark areas of your screen. And you see, if you up this will just darken the dark areas even more. Personally, for the moment, I leave this at 0. You can still change this after we are done with the setup, but for now I leave it at default. It's a bit washed out, but that's totally fine. Next one is the output color gamut. My screen is set to sRGB Rec 709 standard, and if you go over it, you hover over it with the mouse, you see the different, these are like color standards kind of. An SDR screen is usually sRGB Rec 709. This is the most default thing. If you have another screen, HDR standard is like the Rec 2020. This expands the color range basically. But if you are on a SDR normal screen, then just leave it on sRGB. Also an important step I like to mention here, if you go to your NVIDIA app on System Displays, make sure you have the dynamic range, color range set to full. Many times it's set at limited. I don't know exactly what this menu is called in English, but it's set to limited. Make sure this is on full, just to have the full color range. Your sRGB screen should support this. Okay, leave this at the optimal value for your screen, either sRGB or Rec 2020 for HD. You can try it out. I mean, it's not a big difference, but this just looks a bit weird on my screen. This is more correct. The luminance sharpness, we will, yeah, you can try this out. You can enable it and you see it adds sharpening depending on the luminance. And you also see now I have red lines here in the screen. That means the sharpness is clipping. So you will have to adjust this. This is way too sharp. Just go as low as possible. And from there, this is like the lowest point where it doesn't clip in my settings. So it's really, really low. So I really don't recommend to go too far here. I leave it at 0.1. This works pretty fine for me. I get a really sharp image. I don't need any other sharpening filter basically. The other one, we leave this off. This is enable luminance vibrance. This will just make everything a bit more vibrant, but I'm not a fan of vibrance. It just changes the color and everything way too much. I really don't like this. I like a natural image, so we leave this off. This is off by default. The next one is the SDR tone map selection, and this is one of the most important steps at the end. Here we have the gamma that I mentioned before. Make sure you check what gamma level your screen is set to. It's usually either 2.2 or 2.4. This is especially for OLED. Cinema projector, if you have this one, it might even have 2.6, but most people probably will be on 2.2. You can try 2.4, but make sure your screen is also set to that. So if you use 2.4 here, set your screen in the menu of your screen to 2.4, 2.42. I use 2.2 on my screen menu, so I use 2.2 here. This one is the target that we want. What we have done basically is now set up our screen within the limits where it's not clipping. And this is the output. So it basically takes the neutral input and gives it a target look, so-called tone map. And here you have different settings you can choose. Either if I take target gamma 2.2, that is what my screen is, this is the correct output for this. It makes it a bit bright. You see the image is still a bit washed out. Nothing spectacular. I like a bit of more contrast because this is a bit too much faded for my taste. So I'm going to put this on BT 1886, and if you hover over it, the explanation also tells us BT 1886 is the gold standard for SDR video detail and contrast. And you can just see, if we set this back to standard, we just get a lot more contrast and color. It's not as faded out. And I really like this standard. You have also a black level slider for this. This slider only works if you have BT1886 selected, where you can finally adjust the black point. And personally, I don't go too far. I mean, this also looks good here, but if you go to the cockpit ones, you can see as soon as you go too far with the black level, the blacks crush. Like the screens are extremely dark, the details in dark areas get just lost. So I really leave it at the default. So it's not as washed out, but really nicely set up. If you want, we can then also adjust the black floor here a little bit. If you want a bit more darks, you can fine tune it with the black floor slider here. If you want a bit more contrasty and darkness, just make sure you set this up as you like. All right, I'm gonna choose my personal ReShade preset now for this one. I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was this one. Yes. So this is how I have set it up. This was just for the tutorial, and this is how it looks on my screen. Blacks are blacks, whites are whites. You can already see in the cockpit. It's so faded out by default. I mean, this is default. It's just so grayish and faded out. And if you go outside, you just see the difference. I mean, the white is almost too much. It's almost hurting my eyes basically, but it's not too much. It's not clipping. And if you think this is too white for you, you can still adjust it a little bit, but I really like it like this. You can see we can look directly at the sun. It's absolutely not clipping, but as white as possible. And it just adds so much depth. Look how everything is a bit dull and has this weird dark contrasty gray tone, and like this it just pops even more. And I recommend to test this on scenery that you really like, in an area that really looks good with much details and a bit of shadows and stuff. Like I like this area, for example. So if I'm gonna disable that, this is the default look just with the Rex Atmos, and this might look white to you if you don't have a comparison, but as soon as you enable this, you just see how everything, the white pops even more. And in my profile that you downloaded, I have 2 other shaders activated. You don't really need them in my opinion. I think this is the most important one, the MPR Universal tone map. But I also added the CineTools LUT. This is a default shader that should be installed with your ReShade, but you need to select all, install all shaders with your installation. If you want to use this, this is set to let's minimize this. So this is CineTools LUT and is set to cinematic colors. You can also use another filter. What this kind of does, it adds a cinematic color grading. I mean, this is way too much. It might look cinematic with blue and greenish in the shadows, but this is way too much. This is not natural anymore, so I leave it at about 350, I guess it was. And you can see it just gives it a little bit of cinematic look, and it helps. It even helps the shader to make the white even more white, but you will also see in the sky that it adds a bit of blue. So yeah, check it out. If you like it, then leave it on. If not, just disable it. It's a matter of taste. Another shader that I have activated is the Quint Lightroom, I guess it was. Here it is. And the only thing I adjusted here is 2 things. presetted it by default accidentally. What I like to do here is just add a bit more of highlights, 0.1, no, not the white curves, the 0.1, the highlight curve, and the blacks curve we're gonna go to minus 0.1. What this does is, I mean, you see almost no difference, but this is okay because we already adjusted our screen as good as possible. It just makes the highlights a bit more, the lighted areas a bit more, yeah, you can see it here, it just gets a bit brighter, but nothing crazy, and it makes the shadows a bit darker. Let's check again. No, not the blacks curve, the shadows curve. The shadows curve to minus 0.1, and then you can just see that yeah, the shadows get a bit dark. On, off. And this is basically how my sim looks right now, and I think it's really a big difference. Look at the red is not really popping. This is really popping. The whites are white, not gray. It's just amazing. It looks so good. I mean, this is a pretty boring weather that I show you here. Let's go to a preset. I really like this one to test. It's called Daydream. And if you look at the default, it's just really flat and grayish. Everything is so grayish. And this one just reveals so much detail. It reveals so much detail on the ground. This looks almost brownish. Now it looks more gray, like it should. Also, that's a lot of contrast without overdoing it. And I think it just looks absolutely amazing. And even if we did nothing crazy, we just corrected the base image. We didn't add any fancy colors or other weird shaders that I usually don't like. We just corrected the image, and it almost, for me, it makes my sim look basically perfect. I mean, this just looks so much better. And the big thing is, if you go to the night, it also improves your nights drastically. Let's make it dark here for real quick. And then I like to show you an area like this. First, the nights. I mean, just if you look at this. This is default. Look, you can clearly see the clouds at night. Everything, it's not really dark. It's way too bright and yeah, not really dark. With the shader, you improve the lighting. The darks get dark and the lighting just, it looks almost like we added bloom, but we didn't. We just made the darks dark. And you can see it in areas like, where was it? This is just so flat and unspectacular, and this just blacks are blacks, and the lights are really, really popping without adding any weird bloom that adds banding and stuff. It's really absolutely crazy. I absolutely love it. Default and with it on. Yeah, I highly recommend you to check it out. I hope this helped, and if you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. Yeah, I will link all the videos, the Discord of the guy, my ReShade ReShade profile, but really make sure, don't use my profile. It will be absolutely wrong for your monitor maybe. So really take the time, go through it, adjust it, test it in a different lighting situation. For the initial setup, I really recommend disable live weather, so you have a really clear sky. Go to noon, or even 9 AM is also a good time, because then you really have like the brightest time in the sim. Like really adjust your time and go to the brightest possible, take a white airplane and adjust it from there. And if you have set it once, your sim will just look so much better. I mean, also here, look at this. This is a lighted area. The sun is shining on this area, but it doesn't look like it has light on it, like a bit, but very faded. And now it just looks like the light is really shining on it. It helps to reveal so many details. It's absolutely crazy in my eyes. Yeah, I hope this helps. Leave me a like, make a comment if you have any questions, or if you need help or whatever. Reach out to me, and I wish you a very nice weekend. Thank you.